This is Epic Book Recaps, a podcast that offers complimentary audio summaries of influential nonfiction books, making learning a smarter experience. The Varieties of Religious Experience by William James. Are you prepared to delve deep into the psyche of a religious individual? Have you ever pondered over the possibility of religion's intimate association with human psychology? Or perhaps, could religious experiences actually be a form of spiritual connection with the divine? William James found himself grappling with these same inquiries. As a renowned psychologist and an expert on the human psyche, he immersed himself in the world of spirituality to study the human consciousness during religious experiences. In a milieu of distinguished science professors, James developed an interest in the mechanisms of consciousness development from an evolutionary standpoint. The substantial influence of thought leaders like Darwin and Wright laid the groundwork for his research on spirituality. After enduring years of severe depression, James was greatly influenced by the works of philosophers Renouvier and Coleridge. Their work represented his religious and scientific aspects of personality, leading him to conclude that a person's mind holds enough autonomy to transform external circumstances through conscious effort. However, it cannot automatically and accurately distinguish between good and evil. The highest and most decisive experience of all, the only thing by which we can prove the existence of the soul, is the experience that we have of a life of effort, of struggle, of desire, of attention, of expectation, of thought. William James. Despite its outdated view of the world, James's book continues to play a pivotal role in the field of modern psychology of religion. You might question the relevance of James's interpretations that are over a century old, especially given our current technological advancements that provide data directly from the human brain. The conundrum lies in the fact that researchers cannot dissociate religious language from the chemical and biological reactions occurring in the human brain. Spirituality transcends the scope of scientific language and cannot be adequately explained solely by scientific terms. There is no single isolated emotion associated with religious experiences. James suggested that spirituality involves more than meets the eye. To illustrate, science can elucidate how a car's engine works, but it cannot capture the experience of the driver operating it. It's crucial not to restrict oneself to a purely scientific viewpoint when investigating the relationship between an individual and religion. The Varieties of Religious Experience elucidates the value of employing a diverse toolkit, such as intuition, logic, and meticulous attention to detail to examine a subject. Although neurology is a potent tool of knowledge, it cannot address all queries without the aid of self-reported data. This summary aims to assist you in understanding the role of religion in our lives and how to introspect on your emotions to discern those that are detrimental from those that foster self-improvement. Actions outweigh intentions. James emphasized that his book's objective was not to undermine any religious doctrine or its followers, but to concentrate on the psychology of human nature. James contended that physical factors cannot account for religious experiences, leading him to believe that such an approach would be unduly materialistic. A person's belief system cannot stem from specific biological processes in the human body. An individual's worldview in terms of faith, whether connected to religion or other life spheres, does not hinge on the body's functionality. Every one of our scientific theories is a product of the human mind, and therefore is a human construction, not a divine revelation. William James. Delving further into the origins of religious experiences, James asserts that the source of belief is less important than its impact on the world. It's an impossible task to validate the reasons behind someone's benevolence. Virtue may derive from spirituality, upbringing, or societal norms. What truly matters, however, is the individual's behavior and its implications for others. Many harbor the genuine desire to perform good deeds, but only a few actually act upon them. It is irrelevant whether a person's upright actions are a result of religious experiences or other motivations. The positive outcomes of such actions are what truly count. The emotional backdrop during religious encounters differentiates one person from another. However, a shared trait among all religious individuals is the quest for absolute truth. Deities have always been regarded as sources of truth and power, and therefore, religious individuals trust their spiritual experiences as embodiments of authenticity. For a person of faith, spirituality serves as a buoy. When all hope seems lost and the world appears to be crumbling, religion steps in as a palliative, alleviating past burdens and offering a renewed sense of power. The rejuvenation of a person's inner world through religious feeling can be likened to being born again. James underscored the solemnity inherent in the emotions experienced by religious individuals. Their joys and sorrows differ from those of atheists due to their unique interaction with reality through a spiritual lens. Self-sacrifice becomes less daunting for religious individuals as they believe they are serving a higher purpose. To draw a comparison, think about how it feels to sacrifice your time and efforts for a loved one, knowing that every second is worth it. Religious experience is contingent on personal characteristics. In exploring the diverse revelations of religious individuals, James observed that many frequently experience a sense of God's presence. Some describe their experience of His presence as akin to the feeling of the material world. One of the witnesses claimed that his perception of God is even more palpable than that of other tangible or intangible objects. All of the revelations characterize the experience as ecstatic. Religious individuals can be dichotomized into two groups: those who experience euphoria most of the time, those who can distinguish between good and evil. For a rational individual, the inability to differentiate between good and evil seems abnormal. James posits that happiness, like any intense emotion, obscures the individual experiencing it. A person in the throes of happiness does not dwell on frustrations, and conversely, a person in the grips of melancholy cannot identify the bright sides of life. To those unaffected by any intense emotion, such disregard of evil appears intentional. James explains this by stating that believing in evil is simply out of character for a happy individual. A one-sided worldview inevitably skews reality. Extreme optimism trivializes problems, while extreme pessimism magnifies them. The methods of religious mind-curing bear a resemblance to the philosophy of optimism. Both principles revolve around the power of thoughts and their potential to transform the physical world. Advocates of mind-curing believe that by tuning the mind into an optimistic mode, one can attract desired outcomes. They also maintain that to evolve into a better version of oneself, a person must believe in their capacity for positive change. One of the approaches to effect positive changes endorsed by mind curers involves moral relaxation, where the individual should deviate from conscious efforts in their interactions with the world. The ability to allow external forces to exert control over one's life is what separates a religious individual from a non-believer. While science equips people with essential amenities, religion ensures moral comfort. Consequently, those who can derive practical benefits from scientific discoveries and religious teachings stand to gain immensely. By viewing the world through different lenses, people can truly comprehend its complexity. Religion and science, each analyzed from unique perspectives, can coexist harmoniously. Turn your attention to the underlying causes of negative emotions. Another integral part of a religious individual's life includes introspection on the nature of good and evil. People tend to perceive the world as a whole, comprised of positive and negative parts, both of which are equally important. Removing one of the parts would render the world unrecognizable, much like an individual who eliminates all perceived weaknesses. An individual who removes all personality traits deemed weak by society will cease to be the same unique individual. James proposes that the world is not a unit but a culmination of good and bad, existing independently. The pursuit of reducing one's weaknesses, especially if the individual is religious and plagued by a guilty conscience for failing the Creator, has invariably led to emotional distress. Evil and good often create conflicting impulses in the mind. In Tolstoy's case, his melancholy was alleviated by focusing on the spiritual, and more importantly, the real life he found after uniting with God. The writer grew weary of civilization's hustle and bustle and realized that his happiness lies in religion and simplicity. Such a transformation feels like a rebirth, prompting the individual to commence a new life after receiving life-altering insights. Melancholy can serve as an indicator of whether we are committing to our true values in life or squandering them in favor of certain imposed social norms. There's also the concept of conversion, which is manifested through prioritizing one idea over others. James uses his own experience as an example of conversion. As a child, when his father read out a newspaper article about Lord Gifford, a prominent Scottish judge, leaving a bequest to hold lectures in various Scottish universities, young James felt that this will was remote and irrelevant to him. However, when he became a philosophy teacher, he realized how his shifted focus made him a dedicated educator. People perceive the world from a singular standpoint, surrounded by groups of specific ideas. Conversion takes place when the focus shifts to another system of beliefs, especially religious ones. We may harbor a particular thought or behave in a certain way consistently, but suddenly, we grasp the true meaning of an idea which alters our perception of the world. James describes such a revelation as the shift from a potential belief system to an active one. Extremes in emotional intensity hinder healthy development. Religious individuals experience liberation from self-restraint. Their existence is permeated with love and selflessness as they acknowledge other people's troubles and extend help. Religion aids them in achieving a peaceable state of mind. However, this can evolve differently, depending on whether the individual has a sad or cheerful character. Some religious people, in their quest for life's purity, become overly sensitive to inner conflicts. In some instances, religious people strive to renounce anything that could desecrate God. One can never guess the power of an emotion or the dictates of the divine by standing outside of it. William James. Devout individuals possess sensations that might elude the understanding of atheists because the latter may not share those sensations. However, once a person immerses themselves in a new feeling, they gain insight into everything that was concealed before. Religiosity, with all its dedication, is separate from earthly fears. In cases of religious wars, people often attribute all the casualties to religion. James argues that we should blame the individuals who exploit religion to mask their malevolent nature. Piety can also incite certain extremes. Imbalance in a person's mind indicates that they're focusing solely on growth in one direction. It's necessary to pay attention to the other aspects to avoid succumbing to the influence of a singular idea. A person must possess a robust will to compel oneself into balance. If religiosity is so extreme that it can't be balanced by other character facets, it morphs into fanaticism. A fanatic idealizes religiosity and places it above all else. Spirituality becomes the sole purpose in life. Regrettably, fanaticism leads to heightened sensitivity to anything said against God's honor, resulting in retaliation, as evidenced by crusades in the past. Extremity in any form culminates in thoughtless actions that inflict harm on others. James held the belief that fanaticism was only feasible for individuals with aggressive temperaments. Those religious individuals with gentler dispositions express their love for God's sake, as opposed to hostility. Extreme gentleness can lead to a loss of interest in life, excluding God, which is detrimental to one's mental health due to the frequent bouts of suffering and even fainting spells inherent to individuals with gentle characters. Both placid and aggressive individuals can impede the development of others by disrupting the order of routine affairs. Communication with the divine fosters a sense of connection with something significant. James posits that mystical senses, those devoid of any rational backing, should also be classified as religious experiences. He suggests relying on specific characteristics that signify the experience is indeed sacred. Firstly, the individual cannot express the incident using existing language. The experience should transcend the comprehension of those who have never felt the same. For instance, an individual who has never been in love will never understand love. Thus, these experiences are grasped on an emotional level, not an intellectual one. Such experiences are fleeting, typically occurring within a span of 1-2 hours. An individual loses their will during a religious experience. Individuals are left with a deep sense of importance after undergoing mystical insights. To truly understand someone, one needs to share the same experience. A philosophical exploration of religious experiences plays a critical role in understanding devout individuals. Philosophy facilitates people in articulating their thoughts to others. It filters out extreme hypotheses and enables us to comprehend our feelings and how we can communicate our experiences to others. Religious individuals place their trust in their feelings when it comes to discerning the truth. Philosophy cannot definitively reject or affirm the authenticity of pious senses. It is prayer that distinguishes the religious phenomenon from such similar or neighboring phenomena as purely moral or aesthetic sentiment. William James. Religious individuals also have a unique mode of communication compared to atheists: prayer. For a believer, prayer isn't merely a set of words. It acts as a conduit between the divine and the ordinary individual. The knowledge that someone outside our physical world can hear us adds an additional emotional context to religion. Prayer fosters reciprocal relations between the divine and the individual, through which the latter can influence reality. During prayer, the state of mind encourages the individual to believe that their connection with God through prayer facilitates the occurrence of events that wouldn't have transpired without prayer. This state of mind resembles the calmness of an individual who believes that everything has its own time. People of faith learn to exercise patience because they trust in God, who provides them with everything they need when the time is right. Since they don't spend their time anticipating something to happen, when the event does occur, they feel pleasantly surprised. It's beneficial to reassure oneself that everything desired will come to pass, but one should not expect it to happen immediately. According to the author, religion exerts a positive influence on people of faith. Individuals become gentler and less self-centered. They begin to express kindness towards others because of the new love engendered from trusting the divine. Devout individuals are serene because they believe in an eternal world that will embrace them after they depart the physical one. However, their spirituality varies due to personality quirks and diverse life experiences. A melancholic individual will allocate more time to contemplate the salvation of the soul, while a cheerful individual will concentrate on loving the world, other people, and God. Modern religious individuals perceive the world in the same manner as our forebears in that they feel the presence of the divine in the rain and starry sky, and they never feel alone while spending time by themselves. The power of religion lies in the people and their individualities. The emotional component ensures that religious experiences will be vivid and meaningful. However, there's one common sense that all believers feel when they immerse themselves in spirituality: the freedom of the soul. When people overcome moral suffering, they search for a solid new purpose in life, and religion provides them with that purpose. They relinquish their concerns and entrust the divine to handle their problems and pleasures. Suffering imparts a sense that something terrible is happening within them and that perhaps something is wrong. Religion offers acceptance and salvation. Everyone needs something to believe in to feel included. Devout individuals believe that even after everything ceases to exist, the sense of life will endure on a divine level, providing hope that the physical world, along with our joy and sorrow, are worthwhile. We must remember that extreme faith only inflicts harm. Excessive love for others will deprive individuals of self-love, and hostility towards those who don't share religious views will negate the primary purpose of religion, mercifulness. Consider this. You don't need to adopt a religious identity to attain a peaceful and loving state of mind. First, if you find yourself irritated when someone disagrees with your opinion, reflect on the reasons behind your reaction. You might be fatigued, hungry, or simply not in the mood for debates. Feeling irritated doesn't make you a bad person. Second, be mindful of the present moment. Make an effort to enjoy the warm weather, the colors of flowers and trees, and the sounds of life on the streets. This will foster a contemplative state of mind. Third, prioritize self-love. Only those who know how to love themselves can truly extend love to others. Incorporating these tips into your routine will enable you to view the world with greater clarity. These habits will alleviate confusion and provide a deeper understanding of your emotions.